What is going on YouTube? This is Astrid. So this will be part 18 of the Super Mario World playthrough. So in this particular episode we're going to get towards it and get further into Chocolate Land, which is going to last till about episode 20 or so, unless like the castle really gives me problems. So basically we get through the vast majority, but actually in this episode, yeah, I have the gameplay for 2 episodes, this one and the next one. I played for like 20 minutes, got further, it's a good pitch about it, but just being able to say Chocolate Land will be complete, supposing there's not too many problems with that next episode. But I think I know this game relatively well enough to be able to get towards it. But with the progress of this game, I didn't show it with the startup, but we're about 70 stages complete, so there's only 25 more, but that's just basically the rest of Chocolate Land, Special World, and then Bowser Land to be able to get towards. It's just kind of the concept, unless there were like some stages that I just forgot about, which I don't know, but I mean in that case I just would have to clean sweep the game just to see if there's anything else worth the wall. I mean, obviously I'm going to get 96 exits, but I just would have to clean sweep the game to just be able to see what exactly I'd be missing. But for the most part, I think I've covered everything. I think we're sailing right through this game, and pretty much I'd say probably by the end of January or February, this game will probably be beaten. Now, originally I thought it was going to be beaten in 2024, but with some of the extra stuff that I kind of threw in with this, like originally, when I came back to this channel back in May, I didn't know I was going to be playing through Tomb Raider again, so it's just kind of the concept. And I had to pause there because I had an errand I had to take care of, but just the concept about it, like, just being able to say, I am going to, and that's the thing, when we get to, like, this is the only episode that's going to go up with Super Mario World in October, but there will be a series more of these. I do have at least part 19, the gameplay for it for Super Mario World, so we'll get to that one in November. But then I'm also going to do a little bit more Tomb Raider eventually, and I'm just, the problem with that particular game is just me questioning whether or not the fuck I can actually do it, and that just kind of happens to be a thing. In a perfect world, I would play through Tomb Raider and be able to beat the damn game, but if it's giving me this many problems, I'm only in the second actual stage of the game. It just makes me question how many more stages there are and how many of those are going to be a pain in the ass as well. That, you know, that enemy keeps coming back, which is kind of annoying, so I just have to say. But I don't know. I mean, it wants you to use the Yoshi here, but this is kind of it's kind of a persnickety way that this kind of happens. You'll like how this particular end of the stage kind of happens here. But yeah, that kind of pissed me off a bit, but just being able to say is just within the context, still managed to get through it. But really, the thing about it is those enemies should not be popping out of their shell that much more quickly. I mean, in Super Mario Bros. 3, that's why I did that, because I figured that in Super Mario 3 you can actually hold them for a while, but they pop out a lot quicker in this particular game, which is kind of disappointing a bit. But they wanted you to use the Yoshi, and I just didn't want to because I lost it and I didn't feel like doing the stage over, so I just said fuck it. And I mean, the thing about it is there are some folks that can actually use the capability. That's another thing it might have wanted me to do, is just use the capability and just kind of fly right through it, but I just don't know if I probably would have been able to make that without having to use like the actual cape flying ability that you have to have, like when you flap the cape and that sort of stuff. But I don't know, the game was just being stupid and obstinate, so I just would have to say it's just whatever. But yeah, so yeah, the difficulty is starting to ramp up for some of these particular type of stages here. Chocolate Land is a little bit tougher than the Forest World kind of was. I just would have to say I look after it. Some good stuff, just being able to say it, but yeah. I mean, I know this game at least relatively well enough to be able to say this shouldn't be too much like a pain. Now, I do kind of rush through this a bit just because, I don't know, I normally do not rush through these games, or at least not Super Mario World, something like that, but it's just these particular stages, the difficulty is just kind of wound up being persnickety, and it just would piss me off, because the concept about it is that it just wants you to go back and play through the whole stage again, which is kind of the concept that, like, I mean, it's just the way that some of these stages are kind of, I mean, the earlier stages were not quite as cheap just within it. Like this particular area where the guy falls, it wants you to wait for him to rise back up. You just don't want to do it, and then you take damage like I was before. But a lot of this is just about patience, and that's just kind of the concept. It's kind of like in a Sonic game where you get punished and you take a lot of damage if you try to go too fast, despite the fact that as fast as a character as Sonic is, that's what you want to do. And sometimes the developers really get miserly with that, where it's kind of like, well, you want to just run around and burn through it, but it's like you're not actually supposed to do that as much. And it's kind of the same thing here, or you have to kind of slow it down and be like, hey, play more kind of cautiously and mindfully, but when you don't want to do that, it just leads to death. So that's just kind of the concept. I just look after it. It's not so much I'm not wanting to be patient, it's more over the fact that it's just the tactics behind how they're doing that just piss me off more. So it's just kind of the concept. Some of these are just a lot cheaper within the aspect, but you just have to say. But I guess that's just how it has to be. The game has to be tough, though. But I mean, regardless, this game is a classic. I mean, even when I watch myself play this game, and it doesn't piss me off as much as when, for the most part, that enemy, when the enemy got out of the turtle shell, that pissed me off. But for the most part, I mean, this is meant to be a fun game to watch and play through and pitches like that. But yeah. Another thing that's kind of bugging me about this game, and I'm just more used to Super Mario Bros. 3, is these controls in this game are very slippy, and that's kind of something it's been a while. I don't commonly play this game, so I'm just not used to this game as much as I am Super Mario Bros. 1 or Super Mario Bros. 3. And this is a very slippy game. And it's the same thing with Super Mario All-Stars. If you play like the 80s Mario games, Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario 3, like the controls in that game are just a lot tighter. You can move forward and you won't slip around as much. You just have more traction and just things like that, where it just leads to more deaths in this particular game as far as me not being used to the controls as much. But I suppose it ultimately works for like a more healthy type playthrough and more of entertainment value, because I realize that some folks, it's just kind of the concept. Even when I watch particular playthroughs of games, I know some folks just in particular, they do like the error of some stuff to not just have it be like a cakewalk as far as those particular things kind of go. Just kind of back and forth. Some people like the mistakes in there, some folks just want to see the game be beaten as quickly as possible. But I mean, you have to appreciate both art forms. You just have to say, if you want like a particular just perfect run, then I know that there's things such as a speed run and a blind run and some things like that, but I just would almost say maybe that would be a good concept, just to say perfect run, something like that. Or obviously they have the ones that take no damage or no deaths or pitches like that, but I look after it like I would just have to say within this particular playthrough, as far as like specifically if you get off of work at 7 o'clock p.m. and you order a pizza at 7:15 and you're at the house by 7:25 or something like that, and then you start this playthrough at 7:30, just being able to say that you could watch episode 1 that I did back in 2022 of this particular playthrough, and by the time you got to like episode 6, episode 7, shout out if that actually happened, but episode 6, episode 7, you get the pizza from the pizza guy or whatever, and then you look after it, just being able to say this would be a playthrough, just munching, having some good times, kicking back with a few beers and some of those type of playthroughs. Just a good aspect of just that familiarity. And I don't know, I mean, when I think about how many playthroughs just station things for that sort of kickback of this kind of being like Friday night type conduct, I mean, I'm not going to shy away from saying as to whether or not folks say, hey, happy day, it's a new Super Mario World, something like that, or just I'm going to get off work and just watch Super Mario World and just be looking forward to that. If you watch this last episode at like 9:45 in the morning and you can't wait to get to tonight to watch the rest of this playthrough, something like that, it's a good concept of that, just being able to say like just being able to appreciate the pitch of like the basic concept of just enjoying this playthrough, because I do think some of these should be stationed towards those sorts of moments. Like I do remember like Capri Sun, Nintendo Capri Sun, folks like him. I remember there was like one episode, I don't remember which specific one, but there was like one where he basically called one of his titles like 10th grade geometry or something like that. It's the concept for those people who are in school and they had to wake up, at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and go to geometry and, be tired as hell and have to, have like a a honey bun breakfast and some of those types of things. Just if you are having to tough it out, some pitches like that, some hard winter days, some of that type of fare, if you are getting crunk at like 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, some excellent type pitches to be able to have that. But yeah, I would have to say this episode kind of bled over a little bit, but I just would have to say subscribe for more fun. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for watching, and enjoy some more of this playthrough, folks, because there is more.